Example 7 is just some problems that you will see from time to time that you need to make sure you know how to do. You are basically given one trig ratio and you have to find all the others from it. But they do give you another piece of information so that you can get the right quadrant. So here we're given the sine of theta is 3/7. Well, because the sign is positive, you know that that would have to be in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. If the tangent's negative, that means you have to be in quadrant 2 or quadrant 4. That means we're going to be in quadrant 2. So if we draw a picture of that, in quadrant 2, where the sine is 3/7, we know that opposite over hypotenuse is 3/7. And the adjacent side we will have to find in order to get all the 6 trig functions. So that's going to be 7 squared is 49 minus 3 squared is 9. So that's going to be 40. So that's going to be the square root of 40 for that x value of that little triangle there. So now we know that we already told that the sine was 3/7. So that means that the cosecant will be the reciprocal 7/3. The cosine will be negative radical 40 over 7, which means the secant will be negative 7 over radical 40. I'm not going to bother to rationalize. The tangent is going to be 3 over radical 40, but it will be negative because the radical 40 is negative. And the cotangent will be negative radical 40 over 3. In the next example, they're told that the secant of theta is 3 and the sine is positive. If the secant's positive, that means the cosine's positive, and that means we're in quadrants 1 or 4. If the sine's positive, we're in quadrant 1 or 2, so 1 is the one they both share in common. We know that from the secant of theta being 3, the cosine of theta is going to be the reciprocal 1/3. So that takes care of one of them. For the rest, we're going to have to draw a triangle in the first quadrant. So we'll draw a triangle in which adjacent 1, hypotenuse 3. 3 squared is 9, minus 1 squared is 1. 9 minus 1 is 8, so the square root of 8 is going to be the remaining side here. And we can now write the remaining 4 trig functions. We already did secant and cosine. The sine of theta will be radical 8 over 3. The reciprocal cosecant of theta is 3 over radical 8. And the tangent of theta is going to be radical 8 over 1. And the cotangent of theta is the reciprocal 1 over radical 8. Now the last one is interesting. It says the cotangent's undefined and the secant is negative. So to figure this out, I'm going to go ahead and make my xy axis. And we know that secant, which is the reciprocal of cosine, is negative over here on the left side, second and third quadrants. But cotangent undefined, it'll be undefined on one of the axes on a quadrantal angle. This point is negative 1, 0. Remember, cotangent's reciprocal of tangent. Tangent is y over x, so cotangent is x over y. And here you would see that we have negative 1 over 0. So the angle we're looking at here is, of course, theta is going to have to be basically 180 degrees or pi radians. And so if we do all of the 6 trig functions for that, we're going to be at negative 1, 0. The sine of theta, of course, is 0. The cosine of theta, of course, is negative 1. And the tangent of theta is sine over cosine, or y over x, and that's going to be 0. And so that means that the cosecant of theta is going to be undefined. The secant of theta, of course, is going to be the reciprocal of negative 1, which is negative 1. And the cotangent of theta is the reciprocal of tangent, and that, of course, will be undefined. All right, we're going to talk about periodic functions. All the trig functions are periodic in the sense that they repeat themselves every so often, and that every so often is called a period. For example, the sine of 150 degrees, we know, is 1/2. So my reference angle for 150, of course, is a 30-degree reference angle right here, this acute angle, and the sine is 1/2. But we also know that if you add 360 to it and go around another 360 degrees, which would give you 410, or is it 510 degrees. Can't add, can I? 510 degrees, then you know that the sine will again be 1/2. And if you add another 360, it'll again be 1/2. If you subtract 360, it'll be right back in again. This is basically when you get to have a coterminal angles. And basically every time you add 360 or subtract 360, you're going to get a coterminal angle. Or add 2 pi and subtract 2 pi, the same thing. You get coterminal angles, and of course you'll get the same value. So let's take a look at how this works in the examples they give us and what you're going to be asked to do. So the sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. That would be over here. So the sine of pi over 6 plus 2 pi is also going to be 1/2. And so the sine of pi over 6 plus 2 pi k is always going to be 1/2. This is what we talked about here. The sine of 2 pi is 0. Sine of 4 pi, if you add another 2 pi to that, you'll still get 0. And 6 pi will be 0. So again, you go around, 0, go around again, 0, go around again, 0, go around again, 0. Doesn't matter. Every 2, 4, 6, 8 pi's, or the sine of 2 pi k is going to be 0. This is what we call periodic functions. So now, we're going to get into the type of problem you might be asked on a test or in your homework. The sine of 57,801 pi over 2. Wow. Well, that's a huge number, but no big deal, because all you have to do is get 57,800 pi over 2 plus 1 pi over 2. 57,800 pi over 2 is simply 28,900 pi. That's an even numbered pi, which means you're going to be here. If it was an odd numbered pi, you would be over here, like 1 pi, and then another 2 pi would be 3 pi, and then 5 pi, and then 7 pi. But this is an even numbered pi, so that means we're going to be over here. And so anyway, that's just like, adding 2 pi, which means you can just get rid of it, and it equals the sine of pi over 2, which is 1. The sine of pi over 2 is 1. This is just adding 2 pi a whole lot of times. All right. Now, here's the cosine of 288.45 pi. This one looks like it's a lot harder. Minus the cosine of 280.45 pi. Well, that looks pretty hard. So let's take a look at the cosine of 288.45 pi. That is 280.45 pi plus 8 pi. In other words, here's the 280.45. I can get 280.45 out of this one, and then add 8 pi. And so what happens is 280.45 pi plus 8 pi. That plus 8 pi is just, again, going around 4 times. So we can just drop that off, and I end up with the cosine of 280 pi minus the cosine of 280 pi, which is 0. This right here, and I didn't write that out, but this right here equals the cosine of 280.45 pi, because that plus 8 pi is going to give me a quadrantal angle, or a coterminal angle. I don't know why I say quadrantal, coterminal angle. And so they're going to be the same as 280.45 pi. The last example, the tangent of pi over 4 minus 99,999 pi. That's an odd number of pi's. And so let's say we're at pi over 4. And we're right here. And we're going to subtract an odd number of pi's. 1 pi would be here, 2, 3. So an odd number of pi's is going to put me right here. And so the tangent of pi over 4 is 1, but so is the tangent over directly opposite of it, also positive 1. The actual period for tangent is pi. So you will get the same answer. Tangent of pi over 4 is 1 as tangent of pi over 4 minus 99,999 pi. Again, this is all periodic functions. Sine and cosine have a period of 2 pi. Every 2 pi, they repeat themselves. Tangent has a period of pi. Every pi, it repeats itself. We'll be talking about that in another section down the road. Okay, here we have the 16-point unit circle, where we have all of our special angles, the quadrantal angles. We have all of the 30-degree reference angles. We have all of the 45-degree reference angles. And we have all of the 60-degree reference angles. Whoops, right here and here. So you have all of the ordered pairs that exist at all of these, where all these angles are going to be. And you can get sine, cosine, and tangent from any of them. So this is basically what you have to have in your head. But when you actually do these, like if somebody says, what is the sine of 4 pi over 3, you have to know, okay, 4 pi over 3 is 1 pi over 3 past 3 pi over 3, which is pi. So 4 pi over 3 is going to be a 60-degree reference angle. It's going to go past 3 pi over 3. So you would basically just draw a triangle like this. This would be your terminal side. Then you draw back a triangle. And you would know that this is the short leg, which is a half. The long leg is a square root of 3 over 2. You know it's a 60-degree reference angle. It's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And if I ask you for the cosine, you know it's negative a half, because cosine is always the horizontal leg, and it's going in a negative direction to the left. The sine is negative radical 3 over 2, because it's always opposite the reference angle. It's always the y value. It's always the vertical leg. You can say all those things, but the sine is radical 3 over 2, but it also is negative radical 3 over 2 because it is going down. The other way to look at it is, hey, it's the y-coordinate of this point, and of course that's negative radical 3 over 2. The x-coordinate for the cosine is negative 1/2. I like using the triangles more than I like using the points. Some teachers teach just the xy points. I like making the triangle and knowing the direction I'm going. It's negative a half this way, negative a half down. Negative square root of 3 over 2 down, sorry. And of course you can get tangent by simply taking y over x. But I have memorized the fact that tangent of any 60-degree reference angle is either it's going to be positive or negative radical 3, and the tangent of any 30-degree reference angle, like if you had like 11 pi over 6 here, the tangent of any 30-degree reference angle is always going to be either positive or negative radical 3 over 3. In this case, it would be negative radical 3 over 3. So anyway, that's the unit circle. You need to basically, you should be able to fill that out and know every ordered pair, every angle, both radians and degrees. And that's your goal, is to know all of it.